Praxis Playbook with Dr. Johnson, and I help you be Praxis so Praxis won't beat you. Today, we're going to go over why the ETS Study Companion is my number one recommended resource to prepare for any Praxis exam. Now, there are multiple ways that you can access the ETS Study Companion, but the most simple way for me to do it is to just Google the Study Companion for the Praxis exam that I'm preparing for. You're going to type in the test name, you're going to type in the code, Praxis Study Companion, and then I always put ETS at the end. Let's say you were doing PLT 5624, 5622, whichever one you're using, Study Companion, ETS. And so you always want to put the test name, the code, Study Companion, ETS, and search. And it's usually always the first one that's the PDF. You want to always go to the PDF. Now, the Study Companion is completely free. And the Study Companion goes over everything that you need to know about any Praxis exam, not just elementary education 7001. All Praxis exams have a study companion, and ETS provides this study companion for absolutely free. So let's go through the study companion. Now, you heard me say in the video, this is my number one resource that I recommend when preparing to take the exam. Now, you might ask yourself, well, why is that? I feel like a lot of people go into Praxis feeling like, well, I don't know what's on the test, or I'm kind of worried about how the text is structured or what to study for. ETS provides you with everything that you need to prepare to take any Praxis exam and to pass the exam through the study companion. This is the first thing that you need to do when you're preparing for an exam. You need to go to the study companion. Why not utilize the resources that the people who create the actual exam are giving you to help you pass the exam? They created, so utilize their resources. Now let's go through it. So our example study companion for today is the elementary education, teaching reading, mathematics, social studies, and science 7001, meaning this is the entire series. So let's just go through the study companion. Uh-oh. On page 2 of the study companion, you have your table of contents. But let's just kind of go through the study companion. I won't go through everything, but I'm definitely going to give you a good detailed breakdown of what you need to look for. So our next page in the study companion is an overview of the entire 7001 series. So let's look at 7001. All right, so a lot of questions that I always get, well, how long is the test? They tell you that. All right, so 7001 is 4 hours and 35 minutes, and you will take 4 separately timed subtests. Excuse me. And so when you're taking 7001 and you're taking the entire series, reading is going to come up first, then math, then social studies, then science. And so that's what they mean by the 4 separately timed subjects or subtests. All right, let's go down here because this is very important because this helps you plan, right? You want to know how to better plan your time when you're taking these exams. So 7002, 110 minutes, got 80 questions. 7003 math, 55 minutes, you have 40 questions. Social studies, 55 minutes, 55 questions. That means you need to spend about how long on each question? I want you to ask yourself that with each of these. How long do I need to spend on each question so that I can maximize my time? Also, 7005 science, 55 questions, and 50 minutes. All right, now that's just your brief overview. This is something that is important when you are planning to take the exam. I like to say get a game plan. You don't want to just jump into it. You want to have an idea of what's covered on these exams, right? Let's go to the next page. Now we get into the breakdowns of the individual subtests. And so here we have teaching reading 7002. Now, each subtest, you're going to see The same thing that you see here about this subtest. You're going to see the different content categories. These are the content categories that they're going to assess you on. I want you to remember that because this is going to be very important later. And then they let you know approximately how many questions, will be covered in each of these individual content categories. And then the percentage that those questions weigh on your exam. Now, I told you to remember our content categories right here. And I said this for a reason. When you take these exams, you should know exactly what you need to study for. And why is that? Why is that, Dr. Johnson? Well, guess what? Voila, they tell you what you need to know. They tell you what you need to study for. They're letting you know exactly what they are assessing you on. Content topics. And then we have those individual content areas here where they break down everything you need to know to be able to pass teaching reading 7002. This is just one content area. Let's go to the next one. Look at our next content area, phonics and decoding. And then if we look at what's under phonics and decoding, there it is again. The people who actually create these exams are letting us know exactly what you will be assessed on. I had to put it on a 2-page view so we can make the connections here, right? Let's go back. Let's look right here. Let me get my red pen. Content categories. All right, in relation to teaching reading subtest 7002. And so we want to look at these individual 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 content categories and then go to the next page where these content categories are broken down and they're telling you exactly what you need to know in these individual content categories. Phonological and phonemic awareness and emerging literacy, phonics and decoding, and then look at all of this information under here that they're letting you know what they're assessing you on. Vocabulary and fluency, comprehension of literary and informational text, and look at all of this good information that you can use as a study plan. Now, ETS does have a free study plan as well, and so I'm going to create a video on that on how you can use the study plan and the study companion side by side to help you prepare for your exam. And remember, these resources are totally free. Let's look at math. So we're going to use math for an example, and then we're going to move on. So again, with math, the content categories for math is only 3 content categories: numbers and operation, algebraic thinking, geometry and measurement, data statistics, and probability. And then it tells you approximately how many numbers of questions, and then the percentage, right? That's important, because if you know you're not a math person, knowing these content categories in math is extremely important, especially when you're creating a study plan, because you'll be able to look at these content categories and say, let's look at the content categories in numbers and operations. You'll be able to look at it and say, well, I'm pretty familiar with writing numbers using base 10. Okay, I might be familiar with all of these things, but I might need some additional help with solving multi-step mathematical and real-world problems. You might not be they're strong in that content area. And so you want to use this study plan to identify the topics that you need to work on, that you need to improve on, that you need a refresher on. Remember, they're letting you know what they're assessing you on. They're telling you. Something very important that I want to touch on before I leave for math. You have a calculator that you can use when you're taking your math. What I highly suggest that you do is access this free calculator. It's the same calculator that's going to be on your exam the day that you take your praxis. Access this calculator and play around with it. Work around with it. Play with some numbers to make sure that you are familiar with it and that you know how to use it, right? So we want to make sure that we are thoroughly going through these study companions and utilizing the resources, the great resources that are provided, that are in place by the creators of this exam to help you pass it. And then again with social studies, I won't spend too much time. We have our content categories, right? And then we also have our approximate number of questions, and then the percentage that those questions are weighed. And so we always want to make sure when we are preparing to take a Praxis exam that we're not just blindly testing and just hoping to pass, that we're giving ourselves a game plan and we're utilizing the resources that are in place. But I feel like for a lot of people, they don't know these resources are in place. And so that's why I'm here to make sure that you are aware of your resources. And then with science, same thing. You got your content categories, your approximate number of questions, and then your percentage. So let's get into some more things with the study companion. All right, I skipped around a little bit because look what we have here, right? We have sample questions. It doesn't get any better than this. Assess yourself. Utilize the sample questions so you can understand how these questions are worded. How are they framed? Also, when you register for a Praxis exam, you get a free Praxis exam that's good for 90 days or the first 10 uses. And so you want to make sure that you're utilizing that as well. And we're just going to go through and look through some of these questions. Yes, look at all the resources that are available, and then they have the answer sets at the back. So make sure that you're going through and you're assessing yourself. And then they do this for every subtest for math, reading, science, and social studies. Then ETS provides you with all types of resources and information. Now, they do have paid resources, but they really have a lot of great free resources. And again, this is why your study companion is the number one resource to help you prepare to take any Praxis exam. Remember, all Praxis exams come with a study companion. Also, remember what I just said. All practice tests after you register, right, comes with a free practice test with every registration. And so I want you to utilize their practice test. They also give you tips, effective practice test pressure. Tongue twisted. Effective praxis test preparation doesn't just happen, right? Let's go back to what I was talking about, not just blindly testing. You want to get a game plan. You want to put some type of structure in place so you can be able to properly prepare for the exam. You want to set clear goals. You want to set deadlines, right? Develop your study plan. Remember, I said they have a study companion and they also have a study plan. And so we're going to go through the study plan in another video on how you can use the study companion and the study plan side by side to help you prepare for your Praxis exam. All right. And so when you're ready to register, here are some helpful links. Also, disability accommodations. If you received accommodations in high school on like the ACT or SAT, or if you had an IEP or you receive accommodations in college, you want to try to maximize your chances of passing. And so make sure that you do this. Use your accommodations, okay? That would definitely come in handy. All of these resources and links are very helpful, but I wanted to introduce you all to the study companion if you weren't familiar with it. And if you were already familiar with it, just kind of help you familiarize yourself with it a little bit more so you can understand why I recommend the study companion as the number one resource to help you prepare for any Praxis exam. And that's all, folks. So don't forget, it's Praxis Playbook with Dr. Johnson. And I help you be Praxis so Praxis won't beat you.